Hello, and welcome back to the Nourisher podcast. I hope you're all having the best day. I'm so excited. Again, I say I'm excited for every episode, but seriously, I just am so in awe of all the women that I talk to. And so today will be absolutely no different. Today we have Callie Arredondo. Callie, how are you today?
So good.
Good. Did you get your workout in this morning?
I did. It was a really good one.
As per usual. I'm planning on going this afternoon, but I also have Mexican food in my near future, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, I feel that.
I want to talk a little bit about how we met. So Jessica Needham asked me to co-chair Best of Texas in Junior League. And if you guys don't know what that is, it was a major fundraiser for Junior League concert, big deal. And Jessica Needham, I don't know how or why she gets me to say yes to things. I told myself I'm never going to do a fundraiser, but she asked me to co-chair and then said, who would you be willing to work with? I remember I shadowed as secretary and you were on the board at the time. So I just saw you and I'm like, I'm going to be her friend.
Yes.
I say this a lot about a lot of people and a lot of my friends. That's kind of how I came to be their friend.
Yeah.
Is because I manifested it. And so you just looked so nice and you were just so beautiful and lit up the room. And I was like, I don't really know a whole lot of people in the league right now because I was newer. And I said, maybe Callie. I don't know. And then she texted me back and she said, hey, Callie said yes. I knew we didn't really know each other very well at all. But that was the year that I think set the tone for us and our friendship.
Yeah.
What was going through your head when she said, hey, do you want to co-chair with Kaylor?
Yeah, I was honored. I did know that you were like, hey, I would work with Callie. And I was like, oh, I don't know Kaylor, but I would love to get to know her. And I love a good friend. So I was really excited and I heard amazing things about you. And I was like, you know what? This will be really good. Like we can develop skill sets together and figure this out. I was really nervous though, because it was a really big fundraiser and I knew that at the time of the league, we really needed those funds. And so I was like, oh, but you know what? If Kaylor sees it in me, like we're going to do this. It's going to be great.
Honestly, Best of Texas is how I got into event fundraising. Again, looking at the women who led that fundraiser before us,
Right.
I was so nervous.
Yeah. Well, remember, I mean, COVID had happened. And so we had quite the feat ahead of us because we had to roll over all the tables and it was a really, really hard time. It was pretty challenging. It was my first as well, but I thought that we really handled it with as much grace as we possibly could.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I know. Coming out of COVID, there were so many things that changed and challenged us. What's wild and what I don't think a lot of people know is the amount of phone calls, the amount of time we spend together. It's crazy that I didn't really know you at all, but you were one person that I called every time I was in the car.
Yeah.
And if I didn't talk to you at least once a day, whether it was related to the fundraiser or not, I felt out of whack.
Yeah, I know. I still feel it.
We got to know each other, I guess, on how we work,
Mm-hmm.
but also on such a personal level because then I had to be, I got to be around your kids and I got to know you and your life and your habits and things like that. And I remember, your daughter had some health issues.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that was the first time you saw the first sign of it during our fundraiser. When you called me, I think that's when I felt like I broke through the barrier and we were really real friends.
For sure. I mean, Ellie had a seizure. It was the day we were setting up, right?
Yeah.
I remember I was like, Mom, I've got to call Kayla really quick because I don't want her to be disappointed, but I don't know what to do. I'm going to the hospital and I don't want her to be alone in this because we've been working so hard. And like I said, it was a pretty big deal that year, especially for us. I just remember thinking, okay, like, hopefully she's okay. Like, hopefully I can get everything situated and like be there. It's always hard, right? Like you want to balance, like you want to be there obviously for your child who just had a seizure, but also I'm like, Kayla and I worked a full year and I feel like I'm like dropping the ball right now, but you were so sweet and so kind. But I just remember definitely it was a bonding moment for sure.
And you still showed up for Best of Texas the next day, not really knowing what was going on with Ellie. And so you're just very dedicated, but also I knew that was very hard for you.
Yeah.
But, I knew you had support in your family. But yeah, ever since then,
Yep.
the rest is history.
It sure is.
And now we've co-chaired 2 six-figure fundraisers in 1 year.
Yeah, that was this year.
My God.
How many fundraisers have we done together?
Just last year, I think we were on 6. So it's probably upwards to 10.
Mm-hmm. I do love that we're quite the duo because I feel like what my weaknesses are for sure your strengths and vice versa.
I'll be the bossy one. He's like, hey, get this done. And then Callie will just be like, everything's great. You guys are doing great.
We're just gonna do it. I'm like, I show up and I'm like, okay, what do you need me to do? Okay, perfect. We're just gonna do this really quick.
I feel like you're so much more graceful with words sometimes when it comes to checking in with people or challenging people, you know? I feel like you're so much better at that than I am.
I don't know. I think you do a great job too. Well, I mean, you got to think like when we're planning those fundraisers, like we really do get in the trenches and it becomes really stressful because it's like we have to make this money for this organization so that way that they can live out their mission and vision. And it's like, it's a lot of pressure. So I know that like from our perspective, it's like, is anyone caring about this like we are? But I think that we've honed in on like our committees and the people that we rely on and who we like to work with.
It's hard work. And I don't think a lot of people who are on the outside understand how hard of work it is and what all goes into it. So I'm just glad that I found my people who get it and who are willing to make everything the best that they possibly can. So
I agree.
So I'm actually really excited to talk to you about a passion project of yours that I know for sure a lot of people don't know about. So one, thank you for being willing to talk about it. And 2, it just goes to show there's so much more to all of us as far as how creative we are and our different outlets and the things that we do maybe in quiet that people don't know about us. And it's really cool to see and learn these new things. So you have been writing a books,
Yes.
plural. That's insane.
Yes.
Where did this idea come from? How did you get into it?
Yeah.
And was this something that you always saw yourself doing?
No, it's not something I've always seen myself doing. How it really happened was my career is very stressful. And so I remember just thinking, I need to find something to like, you know, take some of the stress off and just funnel my mind somewhere else just because it can be so incredibly stressful. Let me back up. I always had this vision as a young girl. Like I didn't ever know what I was going to do with my life, right? Little boys were like, I'm going to be a firefighter. I'm going to be a cop. Callie wasn't like that. Like I was like, oh, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Like whatever like God wants me to do, I guess, like whatever that looks like, sure. Or whatever falls in my lap. And so I just remember I always had this vision. Like when I would close my eyes and I was stressed out, I would like see me sitting and writing in a different city. And so I was like, oof, all 3 of my degrees, nothing to do with anything I'm actually doing in my professional life and or writing for sure. It really just evolved because it felt so good. And so I would like write like these like characters and like I would love to write this book around this character, you know, and it just kind of created its own world. And I was like, I probably won't do that. But this year specifically, I just had some life changes. And because of that, I found myself with a little bit more time, just downtime. I was like, you know what? I'm going to use it for writing. One day I was sitting in my room and I was just like staring at my journal and I was writing a letter to my dad actually, and who had just passed. And it was like, it downloaded in my brain of like, oh, this is the book. And so when I had that focus, I really just like was like, oh, this is the first one. This is the second one. This is the third and fourth, all inspired by people that I love, trust, and that I admire for sure. Just because like I have so many amazing women in my life that have just, I mean, life has just been, it's been fun, but also hard. And so it's like expressing like stories through them. And it just kind of like came to me. And so I was like, I'm just going to start writing. So I've just been writing like crazy. And all the structure came to my brain. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what it looks like. I literally voice record it while I'm cleaning my house. So I voice record the whole entire book and then go back and I edit it. And it's been really fulfilling for me.
I love that you said that it's not something that's necessarily in your wheelhouse, but it's something that you've always wanted to do. And even though you thought, I'm not great at this, I'm still going to do it because it makes me feel good. And it kind of feeds that creativity and that imagination of yours. And I just don't feel like we do a whole lot of that. as women, number one, because we're responsible for so much. And, it's something to celebrate for sure when you practice self-care in a way that allows you to pursue something you've always wanted to do.
For sure.
So I love that.
Yes. I hope that like I could get to a point where I publish it and everything. Like that's like the hope, right? That's the goal, right? At one point, I remember my therapist was like, hey, like you have to have a goal around this. Like you can't just be doing it for like, yes, do it for yourself, but like there has to be a goal. And so I came up with that and like I came up with a structure. So then it means more to me and those around me for sure.
When you set that goal,
Yeah.
it definitely took it from this is an outlet and a way to relieve stress into no, this is an actual passion of mine. And this is how I'm going to see it come to fruition.
Yes. And it's all in honor for my dad, really. He was an amazing man. And really, what he did for me was like he paid for all my college and he just gave me all these opportunities, both my mom and my dad, of course. He was pretty big on like, you're getting your master's, like you're getting all this education. And so my hope is to eventually, like, if it's published and stuff, like have scholarships for like the first book and then the other books that are inspired by my friends have different things for them, of course. But it really is in honor of him and like his impact on me. And I think some of my letters to my dad will be in that first book.
So will these be fictional stories that are just inspired by real life? Or how do you envision that?
It is fictional. Like there's going to be a lot of made up stuff. Like those are the main characters because they're the main characters in your life, right? And so they're all going to be connected. They're going to start in the first book. Okay. And then they're going to sprinkle into the second book. It's because like, I feel like you should be able to have a group of friends that you're all like main character energy. But how do you fit into each other's story? How do you show up for each other? How do you love on each other? And like, what does that look like? And so like, I kind of want to put it on paper of like, this is what my friend circle looks like because my friend circle, they're powerful women. Like, look at you. Like, you're incredible. You're very well known. Like, and so it's like main character energy. All of us are going to be sprinkled into all of it. But it is fictional because it's like, you're not going to tell their story for real, but it's just using their persona, like who they are, what they represent to you, like whatever that looks like, and then make a fictional story around it.
I think I would love the chance to get to read one character story, but then the second character kind of comes into that story, but then you get to read an entire book about what she was going through almost simultaneously. Sometimes you get that in a book. Like they'll do different chapters like that, right? But I think like an entire book about that would allow me to really dive into that person's perspective more than a chapter.
I read this book or a series one time, and it literally had where the first chapter of one book coincided with the other chapter of the other book. So my goal is to have all four simultaneously, like going through their lives together, but it looks totally different. You could read one chapter of all books and you're like, oh, this is where everyone's at. And then the second, and then keep going. So that's kind of like the hope.
I'm new to reading, so I don't know if someone's done that, but that sounds cool.
Yes, there's I think some Coho books that do that. I love Colleen Hoover. Like she's amazing. Her writing inspired me, and then the True series really did a really good job. Like, I mean, it's pretty spicy for sure. So you got to be careful if you're not into that, but it's super spicy. But it really did it inspired me, and I'm like, oh, I can do this.
That's so awesome. I'm so jealous that you have something like that. And yeah, like I said, I just love that it's more so an outlet for you and it has nothing to do with what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's what I love the most about
Yeah,
it.
because my day job is totally different. Like I do love my day job, and I love how like we get to show up for people in a different way. Like it's their biggest purchase, and we get to show up for them that way. Now I feel like I get to show up for myself in a different way when I'm writing. So it's kind of cool because I feel like I do a lot for the community and my people. So
yeah, for sure. No, and that kind of leads me into my next question, which is how do you find the time? Like you're so active in the community. You're a single mom of two littles. Like they are in very important stages of life. You're also very family oriented. So you spend a lot of time with your family and your friends, but also you do have to find the time to take care of yourself and give yourself this outlet. So what ways do you make time for this because now it is a goal for you?
Yes. So time management is everything for me. So ever since I was like 18, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I work out 5 to 6, like without a doubt. That's like my thing. And then from 6 to 7, now that I have kids, we've got to get mom ready, my two babies ready, and get everyone out the door and into all of our respective places by 8 a.m. Right. And so 8 to 5, I'm at work and I'm very dialed in, and I have to just because my job's so demanding. At 5, I usually go get the babies. I spend time with them in the afternoons. And then once I lay them down, I have hours to myself. And I used to just go to sleep because I think that in my previous season of life, I slept a lot because I just maybe was sad, maybe. I don't know. But now I feel a lot more alive, which is really weird. And so like I use that time from like 8 to 11, and I'm just like writing. As my kids get older, my schedule might change. Like they might stay up till 9, maybe. I'm super type A mom. Like I'm like, yo, it's 8 o'clock. Let's go to bed. We're not doing this today. And we have a full routine, me and them, just to make sure that we're connecting. And I don't want to sacrifice my time with them for sure. Definitely utilize that late night time. And it's been really fun. And it's been good for me because it makes me feel so good and like whole and in purpose, really.
I think so often we think that self-care equals sleep.
Yeah. No.
And I think especially for moms, we maybe think I need to take care of myself and I need to go to bed. And not to say there's anything wrong with that, because I myself have needed to make myself sleep more for sure. But there's some nights where I'm just not sleepy. And my brain, when I lay down at night and I'm not sleepy, it just goes to work.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to. So you give yourself something to do where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to make myself schedule time to do something that I'm passionate about and that makes me feel good. Because if I'm going to be up until midnight because I can't sleep, I would much rather be doing something that I love and something that makes me feel good.
But also, when I'm cleaning the house, I literally put my AirPod in and I pull that document up and I just start saying, like, I just start speaking like the words, like as if I'm writing. And like, of course, it tracks it. And then I'll go back and like edit or whatever. So that's a large part of it too, because I don't just like do one thing. Like if I'm cleaning, I'm podcasting or writing, or if I'm cleaning, like I have to be doing something or listening to music. I remember my therapist one time was like, you have a lot of input. So this is why we need to organize your thoughts. And so that's why I feel like I have to stay busy. But it really is. It's so therapeutic to just write, enjoy. Sometimes when I'm driving too, because I have to drive for work and travel for work, I'll do it then too. I'll just put my AirPod in, get the document up, and start speaking, and it writes it down for me. So
I think of the best things and best ideas in the most random moments. So that's the smartest thing you could probably do, especially when it comes to evolving stories.
yeah,
So how long are these books? What's your goal?
pretty long. They're gonna have love stories in them. Like here's how my brain works. I'm like, they're gonna be fictional stories. Like I have like the persona of main characters. Cool. What stories sell the most? So literally, I look it up and it's like these 4 categories. And so it was like, oh, this fits because it's 4 books.
Do you know the 4 categories off the top of your head?
It's like, oh, this one's like secret love. Like they have to be a secret. This one's like they're not supposed to be together, but their attraction's there. Like there's just different categories. And so I'm using all 4 of those and like matching them up. The first one's obviously going to be the most dramatic because I'm the persona of that one. There's a love story in all of it. I'll just say that.
Okay.
And it's really good.
Are we talking like Harry Potter level that long? When I think of long book, I think of Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. I don't know if it's going to be that long. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Because you don't want to lose attention either. So that's why it's got to be like grabbing. I just read a series and it was so good. So good. The fine print, like that series. And I was like, like I like the way she wrote. It kept me captured, but it wasn't like too long, but it wasn't like short. Cause like sometimes some of the books are like, but I wanted more of their love story. Why couldn't you elaborate this? But I'm not going to force something either. So I hope that I can find time to really finish it. Surely.
Okay. So are you comfortable telling us maybe a broad timeline of when you hope to publish number 1? Or, I mean, you said that you want the chapters to kind of,
Coincide.
yes, coincide with one another. So do you plan to like release them all at the same time? Do you plan to release them one by one? And how long do we have to wait?
Yes. So I wrote out this like business plan for it because welcome to how I work. My hope was to have it done in 2 years and honestly have all of them pretty flushed out and then talk to a publisher about it. Like what is their strategy? Like this is what my hope is. This is like what's inspired it, but like what does that look like? So I had a dear friend here in Amarillo who actually wrote a series of books and went through the publisher like whole thing. Hers didn't get published, but she has so much experience in it. Hers was like a young adult novels, and that's a very hard genre to get into. Listen, smut. I'm sure it might be hard, but let me tell you, every woman wants a good smut novel.
There's something about it that makes me feel like a child and like I shouldn't be reading it.
Okay, but you can skim through those parts. Okay, I mean, it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like so intense where it's like, oof, I can't read this. What I'm writing isn't going to be 50 Shades of Grey. Like I still serve at my church. Maybe I should, instead of like publishing the books under my personal name, I should come up with like my own persona in the book world. But you know that people would find out even if I did that.
You're right, especially when it comes to love stories. That stuff is inevitable. And
yeah, so it's not going to be like dirty smut. It's going to be like the focus is love. The focus is the friendships. The focus is how do you show up for each other in the craziest points of our lives, because we've all had something going on. So really, I promise it's not going to make you feel some type of way.
I think it's necessary.
There will be connection.
And again, it's natural.
Yeah.
It's natural when you're describing a relationship, and that's all relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you even start that process? You were talking about hiring a publisher, which is genius. And I think I would have thought of it later on down the road, but how do you plan to start?
Mm-hmm. So I have had a friend who tried to get published and it not go through. I've had a friend who's been published and it's gone through. Hers was a children's book, so it was a little bit different. You can also self-publish. So there's several different ways. And just to be honest with you, Kayla, I was just going to submit my book ideas to all the publishers that I could find, and really just like hope that. I mean, the challenge is they're getting thousands of books a day, right? So they have these like interns that read the books. So like my hope is the intern's going to get the book. She's going to read it, him, her, whatever, and going to fall in love and love it. And then if not, I guess I could always self-publish if I wanted to. But I mean, it's a pretty hard industry to get into for sure. But really my hope is just to lean in and hope and pray that it just gets through.
What is the success rate of people who submit to publishers and actually get through?
Less than 10%.
Oh my.
Yeah. So it's like, it would be literally like, this is why it's a passion project. If it doesn't get published, I think I'm going to be okay, because it really did what it did for me emotionally was everything, you know? But I do have some pretty awesome connections in different cities that I feel like could potentially help me. And so I haven't even really proposed this to them yet, but they're a pretty big anchor in my success. They just don't know it. If it doesn't, I'll just keep pitching it until it does. You can also sell ideas without books to these like big companies and like movies also. Maybe I could pitch the idea and make money. It's not about, the goal isn't money. The goal is the journey, right? The goal is the journey. So the journey is what it does for me on a day-to-day basis when I do get a plug in and get to write. So, you know, I mean, if all else fails, maybe I'll just pitch it to like some kind of movie company and just pray. I don't know.
Well, if you get a movie deal, I've always wanted to be an actress.
Oh, perfect.
I did win Best Actress in one act play.
You know what? I see that in you. You know what? There would be no question. You would be the actress.
It doesn't say anything about my skill set, just that I'm very dramatic, but I'm okay with that. I know who I am.
Well, here's the thing I do know about you. If you needed to become an actress, you would literally research, study, you would literally come up with a game plan on how to be the best actress in the world. So I already know that that's who you are. Done. Hired.
Well, I think that That brings up a good point because so many of us have these passion projects. And like we talked about, you have a goal now for
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes we need to push each other. And I hope that maybe if someone's listening and they have something similar that really drives them and that
Mhm.
really light the fire under them, that they would create a plan for it. And that way they know, hey, even if it doesn't work out the way you hoped,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that you can't redirect.
Right. And you know what I've found in my life is every single time I've planned something, it's actually never gone that way. It's always gone a different way. And it's always been such a bigger blessing. Things I would have never known that I needed. And thankfully, I don't get to determine all that. I just get to show up, do what I got to do. And if I'm redirected, it is always redirection for me. I have 3 affirmations or manifestations that I look at every single day. And that's one of them. Contract 1, book 1, $6 million.
I love people that do that. I've always said, hey, I'm going to put sticky notes on my mirror and it's going to say all these positive things. So it starts my day off well, but I never do it. And so I love that you actually put that into practice, especially when it comes to this,
Yeah.
because it's important to you and you have a goal and you've got to stay on top of that goal. And I think those words of affirmation and those words of encouragement, it's important that they come from ourselves just as much as they do the people around us.
For sure. Yeah, definitely got to show up for yourself. I do it with my kids too. So like I have affirmations that I say over them every single morning before we drop off. And like it's on Ellie's mirror. Just because I feel like it's really important. Changes a whole person's perspective for sure.
So, who all in your life knows that you're doing this?
So you, my childhood best friend, and my mom, and my stepdad. Recently I had someone come in my life and this person is also writing a book and like has a dream for like speaking engagements. And I had spoken to this person and I was like, I'm potentially working on this thing because like this person is an actual like full on writer. And so I was like, oh, this kind of actually feels weird for me saying this out loud. So really that person kind of knows, but nothing like you and my childhood best friend and my parents, of course.
Do you feel some type of way about when you do get to tell people about this? Like, I feel like it's great because you'll have so many more people who are in your corner and who can encourage you and check in with you
Yeah.
and almost hold you accountable.
Yes, for sure. So to your question, I feel excited but nervous because I really really want to finish this and see it through. And I've never been the person who doesn't see something through, but this is like much bigger than me. It is not my skill set. It is not my wheelhouse. This is not my education is so far away from this. Like nothing about this is who I am. It literally was I was in a valley, like a very 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 lonely place and it helped me come out of that. Like, that's what that was. And so now that I'm kind of speaking about it, I'm like, oh, what if this comes true? This is super exciting, but I'm also nervous. Like, what if it's terrible? What if it's great? What if like nobody loves it? What if everyone loves it? Like, it's just like I'm all over the place about it. I don't get insecure. I just get nervous. Just like with any passion project, you could literally close your book and just be done. I feel like the books could also help women in different phases too, and to have a different perspective of life a little bit. That's kind of my hope also. So, anyways, to your question, it definitely holds me accountable the more I say it out loud. So now that all of the Texas Panhandle knows, definitely I'm just gonna have to buckle in. So maybe I need to take like a week off of work and just like go to Greece and write for a week.
Oh my gosh.
That would be so cool. Get it all done.
Should do that.
Sun up to sundown.
And I'll just tag along
Oh, yeah.
and mind my own business.
Yeah. Do you want to be my PR? Hired.
So, my dream job is ever since I saw Scandal,
Oh,
I wanted to, well, I went to school for public relations and I wanted to be a publicist.
yes.
And I wanted to be around celebrities, but the more I get to know like the real world of how fame affects all of us, that completely evolved for me. And so the idea of doing it for somebody like an author or a public speaker, I think that would be so amazing. So I'll be your publicist and then I'll be your lead actress.
Perfect. Like all that, whatever you want, done.
And then all the producers and other people involved are going to be like, Callie, this girl cannot do everything for you.
She can. Thank you. Thank you for your time. You don't know what we went through with those 10 fundraisers, so she can do what she wants.
I'm sure I'm going to be much cheaper than an Anne Hathaway or, Sydney Sweeney.
I mean, here's the deal. Don't go cheap. Put in a high invoice.
No, I definitely think you should explore going somewhere, and I think you need a week off from work anyway. I know you think that the world would probably
And
end and burn in flames, but
sure.
I think that would be super powerful for any of us to do, to just give ourselves a week or maybe even 2 to 3 days or a weekend.
A weekend.
If you have a long weekend, I've always wanted to rent an Airbnb and one of those really cool ones in the middle of the woods and just leave my phone off and just sit there. Like there was no TV option, but I think there's so much power in that, in just unplugging and allowing ourselves, hey, this weekend I'm solely focused on my creative side and my passion project. And I'm sure you would make leaps and bounds with just 3 dedicated days to it.
Certainly. As long as I had caffeine, my creativity really kicks in.
Get you a case of Alani.
Got it.
And then drive away.
Okay, perfect.
And then once you make $6 million from your first book, then you definitely could go to Greece.
Yes. You could come.
Yeah.
We could, you and your boyfriend, you guys could come and we would just have a good time.
We're like, we're going to leave Callie in this beautiful hotel in Santorini and we're just going to go sightsee while she rides. I'm manifesting this for us.
Let's do that. Like, that would be such a dream. I don't know why Greece has been so heavily on my mind lately. So we've got to do that.
Well, it's beautiful. Yeah. And sometimes
I feel like it's my vibe.
Oh, for sure.
And then like my idea is like wherever I go in Greece, like I need a swim up pool, like in my hotel. Like that's a non-negotiable for me. So,
and I hope it happens. And I love that you're putting it out there and you're speaking it into existence, because I think sometimes we get an idea in our head and it's just an idea. Like with this podcast, honestly, it came to me after an event happened and I thought in my head, hey, that might be kind of cool. Like this would be a fun thing for me to do on the side. And I just think I would really love it. Well, it wasn't until I actually told people about my idea that I started getting all the support that I got. Everyone's like, that's a great idea. We would love it. We would listen. And I started, putting kind of a deadline on things. And again, the more I spoke about it, the more it became real. So I love that you're doing that. It puts more pressure on you to chase this dream of yours like unapologetically and fiercely,
Yes, for sure. Also, I am really proud of you for this podcast because it's amazing. You deserve this for sure.
I'm not going to make $6 million off of it.
Whoa. Don't say that. I feel like it's coming your way today.
Live shows. I've already had some people offer to be my equipment carriers for the live shows. Does that ever happen?
Okay, can we do live shows and get I just have so many people that I feel like you need to interview. Actually, so you'll be my PR and I'm going to be your scheduler. I'm going to connect with all these major celebrities for you. I just have so many people that I want you to interview.
It sounds like a plan to me.
I love it.
And, again, kind of going back to that whole you speaking this into existence, I think it's also crazy that there's a lot of people who are hesitant to come on the podcast because they don't think that they have anything to contribute, or they don't think they are eloquent enough to have these conversations or etc. I preach so much about being vulnerable and how I think it opens up so many doors for us as women. And so you coming on and telling everybody about it, but also not being sure if you're ready, or I remember asking you, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? And you're like, what am I going to talk about? And I'm like, your books.
Yeah.
And I know it's really hesitant. So it's nice if we have people who push us and challenge us to do these types of things and to talk more about our experiences and how that can really touch people and how it can really inspire them and make them feel seen, even through a podcast, because that happens to me all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Podcasts are live, for sure. And I think that a main takeaway for me in like this last season of life that I've been in, and even with like my friends, is sometimes life is so beautiful. Well, life is always beautiful, right? Like there's always blessings in all of it. But you're going to find yourself in seasons of life. And it's like, how do you cope with that? And like finding something like, so for me, it's been writing. And then some of my friends, it's developing different skill sets or getting into a new career, whatever it looks like for you, it's the podcast. And you've done so many amazing things in your season of life as well. And so it's like taking that energy that is negative and just turning it to positive and making it work for you and just finding your space in that. I wish that like every woman would just like sit down and every season of life being like, what's my value statement? Like, this is what it is. And this is what we're going to do. Like, what am I going to do with this? And even if you don't have a skill set, just like stepping out and being like, oh, I don't know if I can write, but here we are. I hope someone likes it. I have a friend who's pretty heavily in English and she was like, I'll edit your book. Like, I got this. And like when she speaks, it's so dramatic, like the way she speaks. She's like, we're going to have this meeting and it's da 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 da. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, this is just a meeting for like mortgage, you know? And she's like, no, no, no. This is a meeting of the minds. She like draws it out. I feel like if she edited my book, like it would be like some type of way.
You already have a whole team.
Yeah.
You cannot fail at this point.
I know for sure. I just got to see it through. Thanks for holding me accountable. I really do. Like I said, like if I really did get a $6 million contract, it would be to set up scholarships for women at a local college to help them go to school. Just because like literally had my dad not done that for me, I don't use any of my education, but the people I met every step of the way are people that have literally changed my life as an adult. And so like, I feel like we need to be able to give those opportunities to other women who might not be able to afford college. So like, that's kind of my hope, is to full circle for it to give back, so we'll see.
That's totally fitting for you and your personality. I feel like you have such a big heart and you just give more than I think you realize. And so the fact that you have a goal for yourself, like, yes, I want to make $6 million, but you also want to do good with that and encourage other women with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just so beautiful. And that's why I love you so much.
Oh, I love you. You're the best.
Okay. So with that, I have a couple of questions that I want to wrap up with. So what is one thing that people may not know about you, other than that you're an aspiring author? And then who are 3 women that you look up to or who inspire you?
The one thing that people might not know about me is that I'm a lot more emotional than I allow people to know. I actually do this really good job I put up pretty heavy boundaries and walls. I just don't allow people in. But a large part of that is to protect myself because I am so like, I love people. And so I try really hard to just be like, hey, this is a boundary. Do not cross it. And because I've just been burned so many times. So it's like, I'm definitely a lot more emotional than a lot of people think. And I think that that's where it's coming out in my creativity and my books for sure. And 3 women that I look up to, first would be my mom. She's an incredible woman who I've always respected and loved her. And I know that she sacrificed so much for me and my brothers. Now that I'm a mom and I look back at our childhood, I'm like, that woman, it's so insane what she did and how she shows up time after time after time. How she didn't even stop there. Like my older brother's friends lived with us when their parents just skipped town. Like my mom is incredible. Like that woman, she shows up for everyone. And she did it with so much grace and she never needed anything or asked for anything. So definitely she's someone who I look up to.
I feel like you get a lot of really positive things from your mom, because I remember the first time I met your mom, I was like, oh my gosh, she is a delight. And she's probably said 2 words to me.
Her energy is real. That energy she has. And let me tell you, she really does love and love hard. And like she taught me how to unconditionally love. And I feel like that's a skill set that like you just don't see in this age. But like the way I watched her love my older brother through his trials, love me through my trials, love my little brother through his, it's like she really taught me like what does unconditional love look like, and that it's a choice. and like what that looks like. So I admire her so much. And then she really shows up for my minis. So super grateful for that. Another person I look up to is definitely you. I've always been really inspired by you. You have been through a lot in your life. It just makes me tear up. And you show up for people. I've seen you show up for people who won't show up for you. And I've always been inspired by you and your love and how graceful you've handled everything that's come to you, especially the last few years. Sorry, I'm going to cry. I value you so much. You're so intelligent. You're so smart. And you just love. And I just hope you feel that in all of your relationships back. I love you so much. And you do so much for so many people. And I've watched as your friend, you being friends to other people, and how some people do show up for you and how some people we've seen not. And it's like, you're still kind and loving and they don't deserve that. And I kind of want to drop kick them as your friend, but I don't. And I know that I've gone through a really hard season of my life this year. Had I not had you, I would be lost for sure. So grateful for you.
I do just want to say thank you for saying that. I truly feel like, number one, I'm so proud of you for being open and honest about all of your answers to these questions. But something that I really value about our friendship is that we are able to be open and honest and walk through these seasons of life with each other with grace and understanding. And it's just something that I always hope, and I've tried so hard to show people who I am and show them my heart and the ways that I show up for them, even when I feel like I'm not getting the same in return. And, when I have these conversations with my close friends, which it took me a while to find my circle. We are in different stages of life. And I think that's what's so great about the fact that we can come together, and regardless of where we are in life, that we are really, really, really good friends, and that we've been through a lot with each other. I know you've had a hard year. I've had a hard couple of years. It's ever evolving. And I think the ways that you showed up for me when I was in my lowest point in life, I get to return the favor for you. And I just hope that I do that every day. And, sometimes I find myself thinking, did I do this situation justice? Did I give her the right advice? Did I show up in the way she was hoping I would show up for her? And so just you saying those things, I'm very grateful that it is recognized and that you appreciate me for who I am and the ways that I show up for the people that I love. And I think you do the same thing.
We're going to end on a funny note. And hear me out. So before I say her name, it is the business principles in which she has. So backstory, when I was 16 years old, Keeping Up with the Kardashians came out. Okay. Understandably, Kim K got her claim to fame through, we're not supporting, promoting that. I would never do that to any woman. Okay. Noted. But girlfriend has had how many successful companies and literally killed it. And she used it by marketing herself alone. Her and her sister Kylie. I'm like, how is this even possible? I admire their business tactic, her specifically. So I don't love her personal choices, but her business specifically, it's like, how did she take Skims and make it to the level of Nike that took decades on decades on decades, and she just started it? It's like, okay, this is cool. But I admire her grind for sure.
Every time Callie's like, did you see the new Skims line that came out? Did you see Kylie's new skincare? I'm like, no, Callie, I don't care. I don't care, and I don't want to support them, but I really make fun of it. But there's a reason they're relevant.
Still.
Yeah, it's not like
Kim K is old.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
She's never sang. She's not entertainment. Literally. Okay, she has a cute little show and she's not an entertainer. She's not an actress. She's literally has no skill set other than business. That's the hustle there. I'm like, how do I do that? Can I take that practice and put it in these books? I have no skill set to write these books. Can I take her business practices and just blow up?
Okay, I have to respect that.
Yes, okay.
And you rock Skims so well.
Thank you. Listen, me and Skims, at one point I had one piece of every single thing she has. Now she has so many weird things that I'm like, oof, I wouldn't put that on my body, but all right.
Like the bra with the nipples?
Yeah. It's weird. It really is. Actually, it's so funny you say that. Someone was mentioning, they're like, would you ever wear that? I'm like, no. Like, I tried to hide all that anyways. Like, what?
Right. Like, as a person who tries to hide the size of her chest,
Yeah.
and anytime that I'm cold, that is the last thing I want to put on my body and like flaunt it. I get it. I totally get it. So, well, no, I think your list of women is definitely
Callie. That's the most Callie answer you're going to get all day.
but I do think it speaks to all sides of you for sure. And that's the beauty of getting to know everybody through these shows is I want people to know you on a different level. And so I'm just so excited that we got to dive into your passion project and hear about all the women who influence you in life because it makes you who you are. And even if it is Kim K, I mean, listen, another note, we grew up in a time where reality TV was a big thing. I mean, reality TV shows were huge. Certain celebrities, the way they look, the way that they get their money, the way that they function in life, I mean, that was the expectation. So it makes sense to have someone who is at a time, 16 is a very hard time in their lives, and we're so easily influenced at that time. And so it totally makes sense. I know I make fun of you all the time, but I get it. I really do.
Yeah. I was like, one day I'm going to be in that family. They don't know it. And can I just real quick, this really has to make it into your podcast. I had signed up for every PR package and done every giveaway that they've ever done and never won. Can she please just one time respond?
This is what's going to happen, though. You're going to become a published author.
Yeah.
You're going to send her a copy of your book.
Okay.
Books, plural.
Yeah.
And then she's going to respond.
Yeah. She's going to post it.
And you guys will be best friends.
Yeah.
And then you'll invite her to go to Greece with you, not me.
No. Kim K's not going to like me. I'm so basic. She's not going to like me. I'm just simple.
She's going to be like, let's go to Balenciaga. And you're going to say, okay, cool. I'll go.
I'll watch.
But we can also go to I don't know, Louis Vuitton, which is probably to her chump change.
Yeah. Like, can I just go to the Gucci store? I know you probably wouldn't wear Gucci, but I feel like that fits my brand pretty well.
Whatever. We all have to start somewhere.
Yeah. That's funny. No, I wouldn't. I'm not exchanging your friendship for Kim K. She hasn't responded all these years.
I'm proud that my friendship outweighs the idea of Kim K's.
Yes.
That means it's real.
It is.
Okay. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on. I know I've said it a couple of times, but I'm so proud of you and being willing to have this conversation for all to hear. And I hope that you'll get to share it with people in your network and they get to know you and maybe in a way that if they're not close to you, this gives people a little glimpse and a little insight into who Callie is. And I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation today.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me on. It really is an honor. When you told me your perspective and like what you wanted to do and you're like, will you be on? I was like, oh, well, thank you. That's so kind.
Awesome. Well, if you have enjoyed today's episode and you want to hear from more amazing women in our community, then go ahead and like, comment, and of course, subscribe. We would love for you to share this episode or other episodes with a woman who inspires you. And until next time, stay strong, stay connected, and keep growing. Bye.